Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Inside Career Technical Education. I'm Ann Baldwin, one of the hosts of this great program.
And I'm Jim Beloga, President and CEO of Porter and Chester Institute and YTI Career Institute, and I'm Ann's other co-host.
That's right.
I'm her only co-host.
You're my only co-host. We're in this together, Jim.
Yeah.
You know, this is an interesting topic that we're talking about today, and I hope that you find it as interesting as we do. And that really is, what do you do? What do you do after you've gotten your technical school education? What do you do if you're a recent college grad? And so to talk about that, and somebody who's got some real inside knowledge into how these new graduates are making out there in this world where, according to our president, the unemployment rate is at an all-time low, but we won't go there. Steve Rothberg is the founder and chief visionary officer for College Recruiter, just one of the many tools out there. You know, we've all heard about LinkedIn. We've heard about some of these others. So welcome to the program, Stephen, and it sounds like you've got a pretty interesting job. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Thank you, Ann, and thank you, Jim, also. So I founded the company that College Recruiter grew out of about 31 years ago. So we've been around for a long time. We're a job search site for students and recent graduates with 0 to 3 years of experience. And the kinds of students and recent grads who use our site are those who attend 1 year, 2 year, or 4 year colleges and universities. So we have jobs advertised on our site from Fortune 1000 companies, government agencies, and as well as a lot of smaller organizations that are hiring at scale, meaning dozens or hundreds a year. We're global. We have a couple of million job postings on our site at any given time. So employers across the U.S., pretty much every occupational field you can think of, as well as a whole bunch overseas.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. I mean, again, we're joined here with Stephen, and I mean, Ann and I are always thinking about employment and for our graduates in particular. And I'm excited to have Stephen on with us to talk about his company and the service that he provides to recent graduates. So, Stephen, maybe you could talk just a little bit about the students who might use your site, because again, we have a dedicated team of career service advisors who work with our students who become graduates and also work with our employers to fit the need. And as many of us have talked about, there is a huge shortage of skilled labor, not only in the construction trades, but also in healthcare, technology, the automotive industry. So maybe just share with us a little bit about what your company does and your service does.
Yeah. So the shorthand is the best way of thinking about what we do is like Indeed, but for the early careers audience, for those with 0 to 3 years of experience.
Right.
We have never viewed ourselves as being a replacement or competitive to career services in any way. Quite the contrary. We recommend very, very strongly that students and including and recent graduates, especially those who just graduated, within the last week or within the last weeks or months, use their career service office staff. One of the great things about career services, regardless of the school you go to, is that they understand the value that the students coming out of those schools can deliver. They know their majors, they know where students in previous years have landed successfully and unsuccessfully. They know the employers in that area. What makes for a good candidate for employer A might be very different than what makes for a good candidate for employer B. And if that career counselor knows you as a student, they're going to know if you're an A or a B. And
Right.
they're going to be able to do a much better job of pointing you in the right direction.
So, it's one of those difficult points in life is people want so many years of experience, but yet I find, as someone who owns my own business, that, years of experience, but nobody wants to give you that first experience, which I feel is really unfair. Mm-hmm. And, especially, in the skilled trades and the relationships that career services had. And you just made a really good point, Stephen, is that the employer here, the student here, And if you have somebody that's an advocate for you or that can kind of sell you into that position, that's very helpful, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Years and years ago in a former life, I think Abraham Lincoln was still president. I worked in the human resource legal office for Honeywell, which at the time was headquartered in Minneapolis with 80,000 some odd employees. And one of the biggest unions that we had, in fact, the biggest union that we had was the Teamsters. And when I came to work at Honeywell, was young, and all I'd heard about the Teamsters was, the mob and blah, blah, blah. And my boss, who was as conservative as they can come, and so stereotypically, it was like, wait a sec, Sam, you're in favor of the union? You like the Teamsters? And he kind of sat me down and set me straight very quickly. It's like, one of the reasons we love to have the Teamsters in our warehouse and manufacturing facilities is that when we need an electrician, we go to the union and we say, hey, we need an electrician to do X, Y, or Z. And then the union knows who is going to be best suited to that work, who shows up on time, who does the work properly, and especially if it's an electrician, who does it safely. Career services for students, recent grads, fills a similar role. If an employer is looking to bring on somebody from, one of your programs, they can reach out to an instructor, and they probably do at times. They can reach out to career services and say, hey, we need somebody with this skill set, maybe this kind of experience. And rather than them just blanketing the world with a job posting ad and getting a whole bunch of very unqualified responses, your staff might be able to come back to them with, hey, we have lots of students, but I know these 5 right now are looking. I actually talked to 3 of them this week, and I think these would be great people for you to interview. That kind of service to both the employer and the candidate, the student, is invaluable, because you don't want to go and work for a company and find out on day 3 that you're a bad match.
Right.
You could have the right hard skills, the right education or the right work experience.
But do you have the soft
culturally,
skills?
Yeah, the soft skills, you might be really well suited to one kind of environment and really not another. You might be the kind of person who is just cannot get along in a sort of top-down autocratic kind of environment where the boss is telling you every little thing to do. You might just bristle at that. On the other hand, you might be someone who thrives in that situation. Please just tell me what to do. I'm going to have my head down, not heads, hopefully. I'm going to have my head down, and I'm, and I know these are the 5 things I need to do, and then I'm going to come back to you for more direction.
Right.
So different strokes for different folks.
Absolutely. We're speaking with Stephen Rothberg. He's the founder of College Recruiter. How can people find your website? Is there a subscription cost, or how do you make your money?
No. So 100% of our revenues come from the employers that advertise their job openings with us. So we're free to the candidates, always have been. In fact, unlike the vast majority of job search sites, we do not collect any personally identifiable information. If you were to go to our site and look for a login or registration link, there isn't one.
What is the website?
collegerecruiter.com.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you there are other avenues out there, and you talked about the soft skills. What are you finding right now, especially as it applies to healthcare and it applies to the trade? What is the need out there for employees?
The need is huge. There are definitely different schools of thought about the labor market. Some people believe that there's a labor shortage. I actually believe that there's a labor mismatch. I think there are a whole lot of people out there that can really do the work well, but employers aren't looking at it properly. Until a few years ago, if you put an ad out there, you might get 50 or 100 or 500 responses, and you could kind of cherry pick the candidate. And so you could afford, as an employer, to be very exclusionary. You could say, you know what, unless you have 2+ years of experience, I'm not even going to talk to you. I'm not going to assess your skills. I'm just going to kind of go off the resume and look for ways of eliminating candidates so that I don't have to talk to as many people, because I can't talk to 500 people if I'm looking to hire one.
So, what is it that people who are out there looking for an employment, what can you do to stand out in this world of technology and .coms?
Oh, sure. One way of standing out that does not take a huge amount of effort is be very, very focused in your job search. Do not apply to 500 jobs or even 20. The research shows that the fewer the jobs that you apply to, the better the chance you have of getting hired and getting hired quickly. So, there's the cliche of like, it's better to hunt with a rifle than hunt with a shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very true in the employment space. And if you apply to only, say, a handful of jobs, it affords you the time to tailor your resume to better match with the job description.
Right.
So when you look at a job description and they use words like registered nurse, right? On your resume, you don't want to put RN. You want to use exactly the same keywords and exactly the same phrases that the employer has used in their job description, because a lot of employers use software that will rank your resume against the job description. It'll come up with a percentage match. And the more of that your words and your phrases exactly match what that employer has used, the higher up you're going to come up. And employers tend to hire the first qualified person that crosses their desk, not necessarily the most qualified person that crosses their desk. So if you come up at the top of their search results, just like when you're searching Google, you're more likely to go look at that page and say, I got what I needed. And then there might, if in a Google search, there might be a much better document page, whatever, on page 3. But if you never see it, it doesn't exist.
Right. I've always gotten this advice too: apply for the job you want.
Right.
Shoot for the stars. That's what you got to do. So Stephen Rothberg, thank you very much. collegerecruiter.com is the website if you want more information. And what a niche, to really start with people that have, what'd you say, 0 to 3 years experience?
Yes.
0 to 3. And that's what we need. And so remember, if you're watching this, apply for the job that you want. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Ann. Thank you, Jim.
All right. And don't forget our website, porterchester.edu, for all the programs. Classes are starting, virtual, flexibility, hands-on, all of that. porterchester.edu. And thanks again for tuning in to this edition of Inside Career Technical Education.